Welcome to Literacy Mindset, where education leaders from across the country share strategies for improving K-12 instruction today and preparing for the challenges of tomorrow. The stakes are high. Students are facing new academic demands, and educators are navigating an ever-changing educational landscape. Each episode, we explore the most effective literacy initiatives, innovative tools, and strategies that are reshaping education. Whether you're an educator looking to improve student outcomes or passionate about driving meaningful change in schools, the Literacy Mindset brings you the insights and strategies you need to stay ahead. This is where education leadership meets real-world impact.
Well, really welcome to the show. Excited to have a new episode of the Literacy Mindset. Dr. Mark Marshall, a Superintendent of Schools of Los Banos out in California. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, we're excited to dive in and talk about some of the unique things that you have going on out there. Maybe first, for the audience, why don't you just kind of give them a little bit of background about yourself and how it is that you got to be in your role today?
Well, native of the Southeast, I've been in education for almost 40 years and done the whole gamut as far as teacher, supervisor, assistant principal, principal at the middle school, high school, special ed director, and superintendent. This is actually my second superintendency.
Okay.
I've been in Los Banos. This is my 8th year. And prior to that, I was a superintendent in the East Side Union School District. That's in Lancaster, California.
Okay.
So like this is like in the middle of the year 13 as for the superintendency.
And migrated from the southeastern part of the country all the way over to the west.
2005, I relocated. I was a middle school principal near Atlanta, and then I moved to Federal Way, Washington, Thomas Jefferson High School.
Yeah, okay.
And
then migrated a little further south.
Yeah, and I was there for like 5 years. Then I moved to the East Side in 2010.
Okay. Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about Los Banos. What about how big is it? Kind of just some of the makeup, maybe socioeconomic makeup or diversity of the district.
Well, it's a very interesting district in terms of it's in the Central Valley of California, central part of California.
Okay.
And what's unique about it is that of course, it has a very rich agricultural history.
Yep.
But what's another dynamic is that with Bay Area housing being so expensive, especially like in the Bay, like the San Jose,
sure,
that area, we've seen a big influx of people moving here from that area. I mean, they'll commute 2 hours, to go to work every day, to go back and forth to San Jose in that area every day.
So you have students that have parents that work likely in San Jose, 2 hours away. That's
one thing that benefits us. We have a very robust before and after school program.
Okay.
That thrives, and I think our community really appreciates that.
Yeah, and obviously needing to buy some time for 2 hour commute home, right? You got to take care of that. Interesting. Okay. Well, great. Let's dive in and talk a little bit about some of the things you have going in the district. Maybe we'll get into the before and after school program, because that sounds like there's some interesting ways that you can really address literacy and from that standpoint. But maybe just give us an overarching view of literacy philosophy. How do you think about core curriculum? How do you think about intervention? Just give us a 30,000-foot view of what's going on in Los Banos right now.
Right. Well, you look at for us, our results in literacy as far as reading, language arts, and such is that it mirrors those in the state of California.
Okay.
If you look at last year, I mean, to the point to where in the last assessment cycle, a lot of districts saw math to improve.
Okay.
But then you saw like a flat line or a small decline in reading. And so our data, we're spot on that trend.
Same thing for you guys.
Same thing for us.
Okay.
Then this year, both in the state, both math and language arts grew in like very small, like a little small spurt of growth.
Okay.
And so we fell into that same pattern, which is interesting.
Excellent. So what are you guys doing? You have a core curriculum that you use?
Yes, we were very fortunate when we hadn't adopted curriculum in a while, but when we got the infusion of federal resources that was during the pandemic.
Hmm.
I mean, we invested heavily in adopting new curriculum. And I think, in
Making sure
fact,
you
we
had
adopted
resources.
curriculum in every subject area.
Okay, so hey, we've got ESSER funds. We're going to make
That's
sure
right.
we have
We use and we
refreshed
use them.
curriculum across the
And
gamut.
what was good about it, so about getting out, adopting new curriculum, we were able to beef up our professional development. Like we do like trainings throughout. We do like regular trainings for staff members.
Right.
So I mean, we even ramped that up as far as our professional development for our staff.
Okay, excellent. So you've been able to really invest in both the curriculum itself, literacy-wise, and professional development for the
Yes,
staff
right.
at the core level.
Hmm.
Uh, Intervention-wise, that's another thing that we oftentimes talk about is how do we help those that struggle the most. You kind of gave me an interesting anecdote in our pre-production meeting
Hmm.
of your time as a teacher where the gaps sometimes can grow larger
Right, right. It's
in
kids.
the
Yeah,
first grade. So tell us a little
if
bit
you
about
look
that.
at research from the A Plus Foundation, what they talk about is that when you get that they said that early childhood education is the best
Right,
way to combat the achievement gap.
right.
And there's truth to
Prevention,
that
right,
because you invest more at the onset in the earlier years.
right,
Because the longer that kids have there's a deficit, the older they get, the wider the deficit gets.
right, right. No,
It doesn't get any better.
you
It
saw
doesn't
that.
get
You
better as
saw
the
that
kids get
in
older.
your
And,
classrooms.
and as as a classroom teacher, I saw that I would have contests. As I remember, I taught high school when I was a special ed teacher. I taught math, and I would have regular contests between my eighth and ninth graders. There was one team. I think it was eight, nine. No, it was eight, nine, and they would take on the 10th to 12th graders, and they
In
would
a
beat them
little
every time.
math league competition,
They beat them every time
and they beat them every time.
because again, the achievement gap hadn't gotten so
Right,
it hadn't
right.
widened. So
Interesting.
that's the essential as far as if you're going to invest, you want the interventions to be early on before
Right.
they get to the older grades.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you have plenty of resources. So what do you guys do in Los Banos in particular to try and address the gaps when they are there, or to help prevent them from growing in the early grades?
Well, at some of our schools are not the elementary, like I said, at the elementary level, what we have reading special, I guess, reading
Right,
intervention teachers at all of our
right.
sites
Reading intervention teachers across the
across the district,
schools and across the district in the elementary side of things.
elementary. I
Okay.
mean, I think we've added at some of our secondary schools. We have we invested in the Avid program.
Okay.
That's like strategies to
Right.
help show up the curriculum. And then we have two comprehensive high schools. What they've done, they put an intervention block within the day in the school day
Interesting.
where kids can
Okay.
get assistance.
Maybe
Another
talk a
thing
little
is
bit about
that
that.
our students we had and we have to kind of look for a different vendor, but our students had access to FEP2. Every student had access to that.
They could just come in during their intervention block and jump
Mhm.
on and get access
But
to a
but you can
tutor
go, they could have the tutoring at home too. It would extend the school day too because it was 24/7
just whenever they needed help.
whenever they needed it.
Yeah.
So we had a lot and a lot of our students benefited from
Okay. Yeah.
it.
And obviously now you'll be figuring
Now
out
now we have to find,
how to
but
continue something like
there
that.
are a lot of suitors out there. There are companies that try to contact us all the time. So we should be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. You'll have some options there. But you found tutoring to be a very successful
Yes.
way
Yes.
to be able to do it, and scaled tutoring through online platforms has
Hmm.
been a successful way for you to do that. Okay.
Right. So we have those tools in place. A lot of the schools have their courses. They may have courses designed with them to kind of help address short achievement gaps. So we have a lot. I think our issue is we have the resources, but it's a matter of trying to coordinate them
Mm.
and make sure there's a consistent that is consistent.
Yeah, and that's tough, right? To find consistency. How
Yeah,
many elementary schools do you guys have again?
we just added one, so I have to.
No, that's fine. That's fine. A lot of elementary schools across coordinating across a
Mhm.
dozen elementary schools is a lot, right?
Right. So I think it's nine. I think we have nine.
Okay, so yeah, that's a difficult thing to navigate the coordination. What does what does a reading teacher or reading interventionist do in the elementary school? Is she mostly supporting the classroom teacher? Uh,
It's
is
it's
there
been it's been some push in, others pull out.
okay? So it's a little bit left up to the individual building and
You know,
the
because
needs there.
I've seen and I've been, in fact, they've been very excited about the work that they've been doing. So they've invited me to come to their classrooms and see what they're doing.
Okay, excellent.
And and I've seen both models. At one site, I saw them that they specifically pulled the kids out and did the intervention sessions for reading.
Okay,
On the other hand, I've seen it to where I've gone into a classroom where they'll come in the class with the whole class with the regular teacher.
right.
So we have the gamut going on.
And that's great. You give them the option and let the flexibility to kind of work how that makes most sense for the across the buildings. You got a lot of buildings
Hmm.
that may be a little different. Let's talk a little bit then about technology and maybe how that influences what you do with literacy side. I think I remember you mentioning pretty good on the technology side. You got a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I said at the onset, my predecessor did a great job of. He was real a proponent of like technology in the
Okay.
classrooms and such. So every classroom, so there's a standard. When you go into any of our classrooms, there's a standard of like equipment that you'll find. I mean, as far as the device to connect to the screen,
Right.
each school has a whiteboard. Each class has a whiteboard. They have the projector on the wall, on the ceiling.
Nice.
They have everything.
Okay.
You know,
So technology is
and
there.
then and then as far as like devices, like student devices, when COVID hit, when we went virtual, it was just a matter for us is you just come pick up your device, just scheduling times for the kids to go pick them
You
up.
got devices already. So
We already had the devices. It wasn't, we have to get them. I read in journals where some districts had a hard time with that.
right, for
We didn't
sure.
have that issue.
Yeah, that was a big issue across the country. So you guys
Right.
benefited from some foresight and planning there. What does that look like then in the reading space? Do you still have a lot of libraries and hard books? Have you gone to digital libraries?
Always say all of our sites still have libraries.
Okay,
I
still have
mean,
libraries.
I'm sure they use to different degrees, but they still do. They still have.
Okay, that's good. Um, and is there a commitment to accessing books on devices since you have so many devices, or is it still more the physical books
I
in
would
the
say
library?
I would say it's blended
Okay,
because I mean I was just at a school. I mean I've seen where both like at our secondary sites, a lot of them do a lot of the reading like you see all the devices.
right.
But at the same time, I was at one of the elementary schools invited me recently to a celebration where they got a donation with lots of hard books.
Right, right.
So
That's it.
so it's mixed.
Okay, good, good. I like seeing a mix and a blend of that because clearly there's a space for both in the world that we live in today, right?
Mhm.
Um, what what have you found challenging with technology since you've been doing technology at such large scale, maybe longer than plenty of other districts? Have you found? I mean, we can talk about the benefits, but have you found some specific challenges that you could help guide
Well,
people?
I guess I would say to anyone, any group, is that you make sure that you have a robust professional development plan to go along with it,
Okay,
because it's
make sure
only
that the
good as
teachers
if
know
you
what to
can
do
use
with
it.
the technology.
I mean, that's what because we're finding out what the artificial intelligence is. That's kind of moving in terms of if you can, those that are a little bit more savvy with technology,
They're
you
they're
know,
moving they're moving quick.
we have a lot of pioneers, but at the same time, we have a lot of people that are not at that level at all.
Got it. Okay. What about device management within the district? Do you guys have a specific framework or policy for personal devices, like students bringing their phones? Do you guys have
We
issues
haven't.
with that?
We I know I know we need to tackle that the cell phone policy issue. We haven't really gotten into that as far as tackling that.
Okay.
I mean, some schools have in place to where they can't use the phones during like instructional time.
Right. Got it.
But by us providing have the devices,
They all have devices, so that should be where
right,
they're using it anyway,
right.
right?
I mean, when the phones come into play, it's more about communicating with families and stuff like that. That's the heavy lift for us.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
I need, like when parents say I need access to, don't take my kids to the bicycle. I need access.
Right. Yeah.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah, and there's safety concerns and plenty of things around that, so that makes sense. But nice to hear that you're thinking about it and trying to think
Right.
about maybe a policy
And
around
I
that.
think in California, I mean, I don't know if you're based in California, but I guess there's a timeline with the law that we have to have. We have to have a policy and stuff in place to have some things done.
That is correct. I have heard talked to some folks about that. What about since you mentioned it? What about this artificial intelligence AI? Do you have a
We're not,
framework?
like I said, we have a few. We're kind of, I would say, we're at like beginning stages
Okay.
because what was interesting. I mean, and it's more in terms of driven by, I guess, the initiative of the staff member.
Okay.
What I mean when I was at RTM recently, I was talking to one of the companies and brisk teaching, and we were talking, and then he said, "Okay, let me." And he had, I guess, a record of like of our usage. So there were a lot of our teachers actually doing it from our district,
Interesting.
but that's something that they did themselves.
Right.
It's not something we as a district
So it's more
kind of
at an
saying.
organic level right now,
There
just
you go. Right,
grassroots. If teachers are, so you're not discouraging it. You're saying use it if you want to.
right. But we need to. But I mean, but you have districts out there, like I know a lot in Southern California, where they like doing presentations about how they implement it. So we live it behind the curve.
So you're not doing presentations yet, but you do have some
Right.
uh,
But
teachers
we do have some pioneers that are doing
that
it.
are
Yes.
starting to pave the way and
Yeah.
make it make sense. Okay. Um, what do you find to be some of the biggest challenges that you've experienced um, around sort of creating a literacy mindset, making sure that people realize the value of literacy and that,
Well, getting people to, own the fact that do we have to make improvements. I think one thing I think our staff has been pretty transparent where they recognize that they do need assistance as far as from professional development, how to teach reading, and
right,
that's why we've invested in the letters training
right, okay,
throughout the district. That's why that's going on. I mean, a lot of our teachers we even have Saturday sessions, and I mean, I'm
to show
just
up.
so proud of the number of our folks that have done it.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think we recognize the issue and we want to do better.
Oh, that's great. And I think being able to provide the opportunity for teachers to learn about that. One of the things that we run into sometimes is your maybe fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, on up, when they have students in the classroom that are learning the early foundational skills, like that
Right.
maybe they're below grade level, and the sixth grade, seventh grade teachers like I teach seventh grade
Correct.
English. I'm not used to teaching phonics or so. How
Right.
do you guys handle and kind of approach those situations?
Well, again, like I said, we kind of at the infancy stages with that. I
Okay,
think right now we're at the stage now we're trying to make sure primarily we're trying to get all of our elementary teachers to get that
understanding
framework.
the
Yeah.
science of how to teach reading
Right.
and
We started from the beginning, from the basics.
got it, and then you kind of go up the grades from there. Is that how
Right.
you're
But
thinking
what you
about it?
have happened by some of the training being available, you have others wanting to join on, wanting to join in.
Yeah, it's contagious. They
Right.
get excited about it. It's fun to see it happening. Um, and so, I love how transparent you were about your report card. Is that something that you openly talk about with the staff and the
Yeah,
students? Like, hey,
we
here's
do.
where we're at, and we're going to get better.
Yeah, that's because it's not like, I mean, having worked on the East Coast where there are more consequences. It's more of more of a consequence mindset.
Mm,
It's a little bit of a,
heavy-handed.
to get people to buy in here to that.
Okay,
Because I mean, it's not like we're kind of at the place we can do better, but we're not really facing like any kind of sanctions or anything either.
sure. What have you found to be the most successful in gathering the buy-in that you need to move forward as a leader?
Well, people are very, I mean, just by human nature, by design, humans are very competitive. So
Fair.
when we do, like when my academic person does the presentation of the results, we kind of highlight the schools that have done real well and their
Okay.
improvements.
So
So
you kind of let some natural
so then that is
competitive juice
so
flow.
what ended up happening. So if you have like some teachers, like some grade levels scored better, like I'll do a comparison of like how you did against the county average and how you did against the state.
Okay.
So we have individual grade levels that did better than the state. Then that kind of gets a little chatter around the school district in terms of them calling each other in terms of what did you guys do? What did y'all, you get that
Yeah. How'd you get
naturally,
to the top of the list?
right?
Okay.
I mean, healthy competition is a good thing sometimes.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great approach. Well, we've covered a large gamut here. We've talked about a lot of things. You've given us plenty of insight into the things that you are working on. You've been transparent about things that you're looking to get better at. You've talked to us about the great things that are going and the tremendous effort that your teachers are putting into, growing in reading instruction on their own part. I love it. It's been a super enjoyable conversation. I'm going to leave you with a final question. My final question is always the same. People start to get to know it. It's Dr. Marshall. Pull out your crystal ball. Give us a little sense of 5 to 10 years from now, and maybe you can do it through the lens of, what won't change. That's one way to predict the future, right? This will stay the same, or maybe something that you're like, actually, I do see.
I can see in a time that I've been here. I mean, I can go back to when I first started. I have a former principal that he always talked about. Like I don't know if you look at the niche scores and stuff. And this particular principal always talked about how his school's grade was better than the district's grade at that time.
Okay.
And you look at 8th grade, you look at 8 years later, we've gone from the grade of a D, like maybe a D plus or whatever, a C minus, to like now we're at a B. So we made a lot of stride.
Got it. Your vision of the future is just steady growth,
steady increments. Just to keep getting better. I mean, I look at, in fact, we're doing a presentation. My academic officer and I are doing a presentation. One thing that's been interesting in California is like the plight of African American students, because the numbers are so small. They're kind of like the forgotten ones a little bit.
Right.
But I think since COVID, their scores over here have gone to the roof.
Interesting.
Which is interesting, and I think what ended up happening was that when we started getting a lot of the resources in, I think we were able to connect. I think there was a connection. People they kind of bought in, they kind of connected to what was out there.
Right. Okay.
Which is weird, it's kind of cool actually.
Yeah, actually, I loved hearing that. That's great, and that's a great vision for the future. I think sometimes we think big increment or big grand changes, but you're telling us be patient. Watch for incremental change.
No. I think and put the stuff in place and get people to buy into what you're trying to do.
That's excellent. Well, you've heard it here today from Dr. Mark Marshall of Los Banos in California. Thank you for taking time and joining the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found today's conversation insightful, be sure to subscribe to Literacy Mindset. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube for updates, resources, and to join the conversation. Have a topic you'd like us to explore? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time.